This is our Meals and Moments series that we put out once every 2 weeks to show you what meals I'm making here at the house with those groceries that I'm bringing in, and also it gives you a sneak peek in our lives here at the Crust Legacy. This series started at the beginning of 2025, so technically this is season 2, episode 14. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Crust, and this is the Crust Legacy, where I teach you how to save money on groceries. Our grocery budget is $135 per person, and there's just 2 of us that officially live here in the house, even though we are feeding other family members and friends multiple times during the month. So our grocery budget for the month is $270 total. And in my July grocery shopping trip, which was on July 8th, I actually only spent $208 for the entire month. So this video starts just a week after I went grocery shopping. It's going to go from July 15th to the end of July. The first few days of this was our content week, that one of our team members comes over to film videos with me. It is really hard to film recipe videos by yourself. So I think by the time this video goes up, all of those videos that we have filmed in July are up on the channel already. But we filmed making barbecue pizza, sweet and sour shrimp stir fry with a homemade sauce that's allergy friendly. And we made videos on making homemade Boursin style cheese and homemade cheesy crackers with no seed oils. And there's also another video that's coming up about me meal prepping for a breakfast staple that goes on the channel after this video. So we try to make the recipe videos spread out between the content days. And videos that are filmed like this, where you can see me close up so I can turn the camera on and off. I filmed these all by myself, and this time we are using a brand new piece of equipment, and so I'm having to train my eyes where to look again for a new setup. So if I'm looking off, up, down, not where I'm supposed to be, it's just because I'm trying to learn this new piece of equipment. So please bear with me, it will get better. The one thing that we wait for all year long is these beautiful summer tomatoes, and this one was the star of the show for some BLT sandwiches we had. I honestly can go all year long and not eat fresh tomatoes on sandwiches or hamburgers, but in the summertime, when they are in peak season, is the only time I really enjoy them. On the next night, we had some teriyaki style hamburgers made with pineapple and grilled onions. These were from those frozen patties that Mike had made that video on that we had already put up on the channel. And we also had some buns in the freezer. And we used some canned pineapples and lettuce that we had left over from the grocery shopping trip over a month ago. So it was 5 weeks old at this time. So right when I went grocery shopping and brought all of the produce home, it was right when that outbreak was happening with produce items here in the United States, and we weren't really sure which items were causing the produce outbreak. It's still not even determined 2 weeks later, but I was being extra cautious. So until we got a little bit more notice of what it was, I was just trying to use some of our canned items and things that I've had in the refrigerator from beforehand. But I definitely feel safer using produce items here in my home, and we are not going out to eat and having any produce items. So as of filming this, we do think that it is iceberg lettuce that is causing the issue, and that's not something that I normally buy anyways. For this brunch, actually, I made after church, I made this peach and brown butter Dutch baby, and it was so good. I was craving the combo of fresh peaches for breakfast, so we had the Dutch baby for this meal, and then also pancakes later in the week, using the pancakes and the peaches together. So I'm somebody that does watch recipe videos often, and I keep seeing all these recipes for Boursin cheese. But then when I'm at the grocery store and I see how expensive it is, then I decide not to get it because it's not in my grocery budget. So I love that I figured out a way how to make it homemade with ingredients that I normally have in our house and are in our grocery budget. So we made a video on that with the cheese spread and also some homemade crackers. But I wanted to be able to use this cheese with some of the recipes that I've been wanting to try out. So to use this for a recipe, I used the Boursin cheese, and I split the chicken breast in half and then stuffed that cheese inside of them. And then I made some caramelized onions in the pan at first, and then I seared the chicken in the pan so it was seared on both sides, and then I added a little bit of homemade chicken stock to that to make a pan sauce. And I had got an artichoke that was massive. I was teasing that was almost as big as my head when I picked it up at the grocery store. And I ended up cutting that in half and cleaning it out and then roasting it in the oven. And with that, I also roasted some carrots in the oven too. Now I will say that I did the roasting of the artichoke because that's what other people were suggesting, but I think it's so much easier to do it in the Instapot, and so that is the way I'm going to do it from here on out. But the cheese spread was made with cream cheese and fresh herbs from the garden. It was absolutely delicious, and the whole meal was wonderful, and we didn't use any butter on the artichokes because we had used the cheese spread on it. So it was a very well balanced meal with all of the components that I made, and it seemed kind of fancy, and it was just a regular dinner. This is one of my easy go-to dinners. You will see me doing it pretty often. We always have some sort of sausage or kielbasa in the freezer, and those packages that are airtight, you can actually put them in cold water and they'll defrost in about a half an hour. So it is a great thing to be able to just pull those out of the freezer and have a meal pretty quickly, especially if you forgot to pull something out for dinner. With this, I was craving some potatoes, so I ended up adding potatoes and onions to this with the peppers, and then we still had some pineapple left over from the other meal, so I added that in. And then for Mike, we had served his over rice, but I was just happy with the pepper potato veg combo. Okay, so now is time for my doctor's appointment that I've been waiting forever. This is on July 20th when I thought it was on June 20th, and I've been dealing with this shoulder pain since the middle of May. I had waited purposely to see my PCP doctor because I have a chronic illness that deals with pain, and it's just always better to be able to see the main doctor that treats you for pain when you're a chronic pain patient. So they know I'm not trying to seek medicines and that kind of stuff. I'm trying to get to the root of the problem. But let's just say it was a very discouraging appointment, even though I had waited so long to talk to him. And normally my main doctor is so wonderful, but he was really discouraging that the insurance wouldn't pay for an MRI, that I needed to do PT longer. And I was just like, I've already been doing PT twice a day for 6 weeks at this point, and nothing's getting better. I can't raise this arm up or behind me or unsnap my bra, like all of those kind of things. I can't even tie my apron right now, and I'm normally in my apron all day long, and so I haven't been wearing that very much. And then he was telling me that I would probably have to get an x-ray first, which something torn in my rotator cuff would not show up on an x-ray, but that was just like one of those boxes I'd have to check for the insurance company. I was pretty much in tears afterwards, just feeling like I had waited so long for this appointment from a doctor that I trust, and I just didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. But he did say that he was going to put in the request for the MRI, but it would probably get denied. So that meal I was just talking about, the sausage and peppers, that was what I ended up pulling out and wanting to chop some things and just get some frustration out while I was making dinner and just trying to calm down a little bit. So that was my go-to easy meal that I didn't have to think about at all. It was just super easy. The next morning I woke up to my phone ringing, and it was the radiology department of our insurance. And I thought it was for the x-ray. So when I was sitting there waiting for them, they called me, and then I still had to wait on hold after they called me. But I thought it was for the x-ray that they wanted me to go get. And so I was even more discouraged about it. But it was actually for an MRI, and they had an opening on Saturday, just a few days away. But we had to drive 4 hours to go back over to the Seattle Bellevue area to get the MRI. If I didn't do the MRI in Seattle Bellevue area, then it was going to be like 6 weeks before they could get me in closer to where we live now. So I instantly said yes. I had them book me for the appointment, and then I went and told Mike that we could get in. I was really so shocked and just really thankful for the people that were praying for me over that night, and then to get that call in the morning. There was so many people that were waiting for us for that July 20th appointment, and then for me to be so discouraged afterwards, and just knowing that people were lifting me up, knowing that I want to get answers of what's going on and not be in so much pain all of the time. And I did remember when I was talking to him to ask about my estrogen levels. I know a few of my followers have asked about those, and my estrogen levels ended up coming back completely normal. So it's probably not estrogen related that I have like frozen shoulder. There's just pain in one little area here. The next day I was dealing with pain all day long because I had to wash my hair, and so that will trigger pain for a few hours. So it's just these daily living tasks that are really hard. And so we ended up having chicken Caesar salad for dinner. We just have those chicken strips we have in the freezer all the time, and we warmed those up and had some salad, again using the rest of that lettuce that we had that was from the June grocery shopping trip. So this is July 21st now. Mike has been working in the evenings in that back room that we're trying to make into the studio room, and he kept closing the door in the bedroom, and I thought it was so his music didn't bother me. But to find out after all the texturing was done that I hadn't came in and looked inside the room in a while, and he had totally taken the sheetrock off of an entire other wall that I didn't know about. So that is why it was taking him so long to get the texturing and priming done again. But at least we know that all of the wiring is safe in this room, and that there's no issues between the outside, because we live in a cinder block house, and the sheetrock. So he fixed anything that has possibly happened in the last 80 years of this house, and now it is ready for its first coat of paint. And when I tell you that Mike is a perfectionist, I had to come in and take a picture. This is after the first coat, and he is going around the room with a flashlight and his reading glasses, and he is marking with tape anywhere that he had possibly missed a spot of painting. So projects take a really long time because they are perfect when he gets done. After how stressful the week was, we were really excited that our new friends asked us out on a double date. So I have made a friend now, and Mike has made a friend, and they happen to be married, which is just really lovely. So we went out to dinner, and then we ended up talking for 3.5 hours, and we got to watch a lovely sunset. So now we are to Saturday, which is the day of our MRIs. So we have to drive over to the Seattle area, and it just happens that somebody I care about is in Harborview, which is one of the best hospitals in the United States. And so it really worked out that my MRI happened to be in Seattle, and we were able to go visit our loved ones. So we were able to go see them, and then my appointment wasn't until 6 p.m. in the evening. And I also knew it was seafair. So we ended up leaving Seattle and getting to Bellevue and deciding to eat dinner in Bellevue, which we went to Duke's, and I had their chowder and the sourdough bowl that I love. As we were sitting there eating dinner, the Seafair parade was up on the screen, and so we were watching it, and I took a picture because I was kind of excited that I got to see the high school that I used to be the dance coach for. They came across on the screen, so it just happened to be when I looked up at the screen and I got to see it. So I was really proud of our high school and how well they were doing. I was really nervous about the MRI all day long. I was worried that I was going to have to be in different positions or raise my arm up or out or whatever. And I was really thankful for the entire MRI. I just had to keep it resting at my side, which is a comfortable position. So I've had MRIs in the past where I've had to stay in a really painful position. And so I was kind of nervous about it, but the MRI ended up going really well. We didn't know any results for a few days, but then we had to travel home, and we ended up not getting home until after midnight. I had some frozen pie crusts in the freezer, and I've been wanting to think of some new ways to use them up and not just wait for a chicken pot pie season to come again. And so I decided to use them and make some caramelized onions and zucchini with some bacon. And I made a cheesy gallant. And then I had put eggs on top of it. And I served this with huge slices of summer tomatoes. It was so good. But I love that I'm looking in my freezer knowing that I had bought something before the holidays last year, thinking that I was going to make some pies or make chicken pot pie, and then I haven't used them all, so I'm really trying to think of different ideas that sound good in the middle of summer to want to use them up. For the rest of the day, I was out in the yard. I was really happy that it was a cooler day. It was just in the high 70s instead of being almost 100, and I put one garden glove on and I went around my flower beds, and I was able to weed some of the flower beds that had kind of got out of control since May. We had beautiful spring flowers, and then I had planted some zinnia seeds. Those are new to me, so I wasn't exactly sure what they were going to look like as they started growing. We were kind of letting the weeds and the flowers grow at the same time, and it got a little bit out of control. But I was able to go out there, and I always sit on cardboard boxes and just went around the flower beds with the one glove on, so I wouldn't use my other hand and get my hands in the dirt a little bit, or my hand in the dirt a little bit. And it was just really calming to my soul to be able to spend some quiet time out there. My kiddo called me asking for a recipe, which happens to be on the blog. And I told her if she would just come over here and grab the ingredients that she needed, because I had some extra ingredients, that she could have them and not have to go to the grocery store if she brought us back strawberry shortcakes. So it was a win-win for everybody, and I was able to give her the ingredients that she doesn't normally have at her house, and we ended up with strawberry shortcake. So back in September, right when it was harvest season, I bought a 50-pound bag of onions. It was actually a box. I bought a box of onions, but it was 50 pounds. And I have used those all year, and I used the last one on July 4th, and I even filmed a little video saying it was July 4th and we were using it that day. But on my June grocery shopping trip, I ended up getting another 50-pound bag of onions this time. Now, I knew that these were last season's, and that's why they were so cheap. So they weren't going to last many months. I needed to start working through them. And not knowing my MRI results yet, if I do have to have surgery, it will mean a sling for about 6 weeks to 2 months. And so the things that I can physically do now and try to keep doing things that will help us later is always better. So I ended up pulling out my chopper, and I will have to say, I don't like using this chopper. I think it's hard to clean. A bunch of influencers have said to buy it and all the things. I just think it's kind of a pain. But when you're working through this many produce items, it's a good thing for large projects. We'd also pulled in some zucchinis from the garden. So in each bag, I was putting 1 cup of onions and 1 cup of zucchini that was chopped about the same size into the bags. So that way I can just take those right out of the freezer and put them into the pan. And yes, if you don't want to put your things in plastic, you could also put those in like pint-sized jars if you want to put those in your freezer, but this was just a great way for me to deal with that. I will say I did put as many bags as I could in each one of the lettuce containers that I use, those lettuce glass containers, and I'll take a little video for that. But I think I could get like 12 bags in each one of those glass containers. I have a couple extra, so I put the bags inside the glass and then put it into the freezer, and my freezer does not smell like onions. I am left-handed, but holding a knife is something I've always done in my right hand. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm doing as much as I possibly can, and being able to put away single ingredient items like this is a great thing to do, so we can always have them to make fresh meals. And I feel like we need a little bit of a garden update because Mike's sunflowers, he has wanted these forever. He tries to grow them. over in our old garden in the Seattle area, and they just never would take off like this, or the squirrels would eat the seeds. And now his sunflowers are literally like over 10 feet tall. I swear, every time I look out there, they seem like they are taller, and we have zucchinis coming in almost every day. And then we have some pumpkins. I'm still kind of waiting to see if those watermelons took off or not, but so far we just have some pumpkins and then lots of zucchini and yellow squash. And since we are in prime zucchini season right now, we have a bunch of it coming in from the garden from those 3 plants that I planted. We ended up using those to put in the freezer, but I also batch cooked some zucchini boat fillings. So as I was making dinner that night, I was making zucchini boats with that meat filling, and then I made it for dinner, and then I have 3 more portions of it cooked out for more dinners later. So the part that's going into the freezer does have mixed vegetables inside of it, but it doesn't have the actual like zucchini that is the boat. So we had the fresh boat for dinner, and then just the filling is going into the freezer. But with this, I had snuck in some extra veggies with it, on top of it being served on zucchini, and then also lentils in it. So I was kind of thinking it was a good recipe that I might end up making for a make dinner with me, because the meat mixture is so versatile, you can use it many different ways. So if that's a batch cooking video you're interested in, make sure that you're letting me know, because these videos are a great place for me to test the waters to see if you're interested in learning more about a recipe or not, or if it's something that nobody's interested in, then I won't make the recipe again. And for people bringing us things, this kind of worked out in our favor too. For our neighbor that we had made the chicken stock for a couple weeks ago, she is doing better, and she made some blueberry muffins and sent her kiddo over with the blueberry muffins to our house. So, you know, when you have a friend that can cook and another one that bakes a lot, you know, it's a win-win when you guys can share what you're doing. And I did take a picture of this. This was the next day. I might have spent most of the day working on those onions and zucchinis. I was taking many breaks. I would just work on it for about 10 minutes and then kind of leave it alone and then come back to it. But I did not wash the dishes, and this picture is to remind you that not always things are perfect. And so I did indeed go to bed with a sink full of dishes, and I woke up the next day and eventually ended up doing them. Mike was gone for the entire day. He had to go do something for work, which took him down by the produce stand that we really loved last fall when we first moved here. So since he was going that way, I'm like, hey, will you stop? Because we went down twice in May and June, and all they had there was asparagus, and I'm just used to full produce stands. So I didn't want to make a trip down there for our August grocery shopping trip if they didn't have very much, because last year I went there in September and October and they had a bunch of stuff. But over here, the rules are that you can only sell the things that you grow. So while Mike was there, not just telling me what they had available, he was also taking B-roll little videos for me so I could actually see what was available, and that way I can plan our next grocery shopping trip and the videos that we're going to be making in August. So he was doing a little bit of research for me, and he didn't want to walk out of there without buying anything. So he did get 2 corn on the cobs to bring home. And I had a dentist appointment that afternoon, and so before I left, I had pulled out some salsa chicken out of the freezer and some tortillas that were also in the freezer, and that way dinner was just defrosting and just needed to be heated up when we got back home. When I did get home, I had a numb mouth because I had an old mercury filling from like junior high that they had to replace, and no new cavities, just the old filling that needs to be replaced. I wasn't really thinking about my mouth being numb and not being able to close my lips all the way and not wanting to like bite my tongue. And so I didn't really want to eat anything when it was time for dinner because my appointment was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It hadn't worn off by the time it was time for dinner. So I ended up drinking a protein shake because I needed to get some protein in me. And we had these shakes that were left over from when we first moved into the house, and they need to be drank in the next couple months. But I am diabetic, and it's really important to me that I do have enough protein, and I'm paying attention to that. So I was able to carefully drink this protein drink through a straw, which was just really funny because part of my mouth didn't want to close all the way and then it was like dribbling out. So I did the best I could, and then a couple hours later, when my mouth was doing better, then I was able to have that salsa chicken a couple of hours after Mike had it. I made some pickled onions this next day, and this is something that we have made for a video before, and I normally make them in the summertime, but we've never made a blog post, so I was making sure when I was making them for dinner or for the summer, they last a couple months in the refrigerator. Then I was also taking pictures for the website. That happens sometimes. We had realized that we put up the lemon tortellini sausage dish that I made with that dinner video, but we forgot to make the entire blog post recipe. And a lot of times that's just because it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and I need to sit down later and kind of figure out what I did and what the measurements were. And so sometimes I just forget to go back and make those notes. So if you are looking for a recipe that I'm talking about and we don't already have a blog post for it, we really are trying to match those up so we have videos and blog posts that have the recipes listed for you. I have some baby potatoes that I've been wanting to use up. They are a couple months old now, and so I started boiling them earlier in the day to then let them sit in some cool water, and that kind of releases some of the starch in them. And as I was doing that, thinking I was going to make potato salad, my kiddo, who's a vegetarian, decided that she was going to stop by, and I offered if she wanted some potatoes too, but she doesn't like potato salad. So I ended up deciding to make smashed potatoes instead, and Mike was making hamburgers on the grill. So I wasn't worried about like making sure that she had her complete dinner. I just wanted to offer something since she was stopping by at the same time that we were eating dinner. So she was not going to eat a hamburger at all, and she was really happy to have the smashed potatoes that we ended up cooking the rest of them on the Blackstone as he was cooking the hamburgers. And it just happened about the same time that they were coming over for dinner. It was about the same time we got the MRI report that came back. So I definitely do have a tear here in my rotator cuff, and it is not just reflective sympathetic dystrophy pain. So I have been trying to tell them the whole time that this pain is different and it's not like my everyday RSD pain that I deal with. So if you haven't seen my chronic illness videos, we have some of those if you want to learn more about my RSD. But the doctor is not recommending surgery at this time, so there's no fix right now, and that is just really frustrating that there's not a fix. And he wants me to continue with PT and taking ibuprofen. Well, I've been doing the ibuprofen since the middle of May, and then PT I started June 1st. So it's just really frustrating. I send him a list of all the things that I've been doing for creams and lidocaine patches and PT twice a day and red light therapy and all the things that I can't do every day, including like getting dressed and putting on deodorant. And I have the funniest story about putting on deodorant I will tell you at the very end of this video. But he wants me just to continue on the path that we've been doing for over 2 months now. And it's just the way our insurance works, blah, 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 all the things. So I sent him back a list of all the things that I've been doing, from the pain creams and lidocaine patches and PT twice a day and red light therapy and all of these things that I'm doing to manage pain, along with my RSD pain that I do already. And then I also sent him a list of things that I can't do, like getting dressed by myself, taking off my bra, washing my hair, like all of those kind of things that are daily living things. And funny enough, as I was going to film this video today, I was hurrying and trying to spray my hair a little bit more, and I went to grab my hairspray and I started to spray it, and then I like panicked and looked back because I totally forgot that I got some spray deodorant, and I was really worried that I sprayed it in my hair. So anyways, just everyday things that we're having to make swaps for. Lifting my arm to put on deodorant is hard, so we got spray deodorant for me. So it's just so frustrating. I'm dealing with this pain, and I don't like to complain about having pain, but it really is affecting every single moment of my day. So even the PT agreed that I needed to be transferred here locally and transferred to a different insurance option, which we need the PCP to write the referrals. So even as of today, when I'm filming this, we still don't have referrals. I really think that a cortisone shot would probably be helping if we can get that. And so if they can do the shot right where the pain is, that should help eliminate a lot of things. And if they're just trying for that nerve or tendon to die off and not be so painful, it's just frustrating. Like the whole situation is frustrating, and I try not to wallow in the moments, but it is my day. I got some, I think they're called Lupini beans. If I say them wrong, then I'm sorry, but these are a new bean to me, and I'm trying to make a bean routine where I'm making them more often and putting those into our meals. But this one has about the highest protein level of other beans in it. There are 14 grams of protein per serving. I did follow the package instructions for this, but next time I'm going to try to make them in the Instapot, which would be much quicker and I wouldn't have to worry about a pot on the stove all afternoon. So I'm going to keep trying to do different bean recipes and how to prepare them less expensive so you can have them at your house and easy to use. I will say that they have been a great snack. I haven't even baked them. Sometimes I will bake them with a little bit of oil and put garlic and salt on them, and then they are a crispy snack. But just in the refrigerator, I have them in a jar, and I've been grabbing a little bit here and there as an afternoon pick-me-up, but I love that it is 14 grams of protein. This next day is my favorite day of the entire week because my favorite person is over all day and actually got to spend the night at Grandma and Papa's house. So it was a very fun day, but for dinner, I ended up just throwing some chicken breast on a sheet pan and salt, pepper, and garlicking it and putting some teriyaki sauce on, and then let that cook for about 20 minutes before I added the peppers and onions to the tray, and then let it cook. It was about 20 more minutes until it got up to 165 degrees. And then we had some rice in the rice cooker that I cooked, and also I made some frozen peas, so somebody was very happy. And that's what we had for dinner. It was really low effort, and that way we could play as much as we could. I almost totally forgot to tell you the most exciting news that happened. So on Friday, right at the end of the month, we ended up getting a phone call asking if we wanted to be on a major morning news broadcast. And so we were sending emails back and forth trying to decide whether or not I could film in my kitchen and be on this major newscast that has 1.5 million people that watch every Sunday morning. But they actually wanted me to go to New York City and film in studio with 24 hours notice, and that was just a little crazy. One, we had our favorite little person having a slumber party at our house, and we are going back and forth in these emails whether or not we are going to end up flying out that afternoon to go to New York. One of our choices was to fly out of Spokane and go, which I'm so thankful that we ended up not going out of Spokane because that's where all of the fires ended up breaking out on Saturday afternoon. So it was all just kind of crazy. But Gabrielle, if you're watching, even though I turned down going this weekend, I would love to go when we can have a little bit more time to plan. So just 24 hours notice was a little bit short, and I was honestly really worried with what I'm dealing with my shoulder traveling, and then having to be on camera for a couple of hours would be really hard on me. But hopefully we can work this out so we can go to New York City and be on stage again. So it was the booking producer for the show that's actually a follower of ours, and I love that they reached out, and possibly we could do this again in the future when I could go there. But because I am an author and have the Zero Waste Produce Guide where I teach families all over the world how to save money on groceries is why we got the phone call, which was just so amazing. But this is our Zero Waste Produce Guide that goes through 75 fruits and vegetables that go A to Z. So you can just flip through the book and go exactly to the page that you need. And it gives you other tips on rotating things out and putting them in the freezer or your fridge organization. And there's 40 recipes in it. This goes right along with our meal planner. This is where I keep track of all the meals that we're having and the ingredients I have in my house. But most importantly, I also keep track of our shopping list and how much I'm spending at the store. So I can really judge when I need to buy something again by how long it took me to use it up the last time. So I really, really believe in using a meal planner. I've done these for about 10 years now, and it's just really changed our entire finances for our family. The meal planner and the book are linked in the description, and there is a discount code for watching this video. So now that you are all caught up of all the things that are happening between the middle and end of July, but I did want to say, because I've gotten a couple messages, we are nowhere near the fires that are happening in Eastern Washington right now. So we have some family members that are firefighters fighting those fires, but our house and our town are completely fine. So thank you for everybody that has been worried, and keep praying for Eastern Washington. It's such a hard fire season this year. It's the worst one in many decades. So we'll see you back in 2 more weeks, and we'll see what meals that I'm making and what is happening in our life at the time.